What's up, everybody? Welcome back to HOA MMA. AJ, how the hell is it going across the pond, man?
Well, I know that all the time in our group chat, everyone kind of takes the piss out of, what the weather's like over here. But recently, the summer's been a really, really good summer until today. I'm coming back home and it decides to fucking piss down. Like, it is pouring. So, very heavy rain today. I got drenched. I just got fucking soaked, if I'm being honest. But apart from that, the week's been okay so far. And, even though the rain kind of dampened the end of my day, what won't dampen my mood is talking about probably the best week of combat sports I've probably been happy to witness in a very, very long time, because last week was fucking amazing.
Yeah. No, hell of a weekend. This has been a really, really great stretch for combat sports. Like you just brought up, let's jump into it right away. Let's get your breakdown. Let's get into it. Crawford and Spence. Crawford retains. Crawford puts himself into what some people have been talking about, rare air, after this victory. Tell us what you think. Tell us how the fight went down. Tell us what you think going forward for Crawford.
First of all, the fact that we're talking about a boxing fight on an MMA podcast just kind of shows how massive this fight was after all these years. You had Crawford, the WBO welterweight champion. He was 39-0, a former undisputed champion at a weight class below. Spence, 28-0, IBF, WBA, WBC welterweight champion. A great fighter in his own right. The two best fighters of this generation, at least in the welterweight division, finally going ahead. And what many people thought was a 50-50 fight. I mean, I remember all week, whenever I was speaking to anyone, my friends, people at work, anyone who knew about boxing, who I just kind of came across and was talking about it, it was, you had one side who was firmly on the side of Crawford, saying, he's a more technical boxer, he's more of a switcher, he kind of switches his stances a lot. And then people going for Spence. Spence, equally in his own right, is a very good boxer, very, very technical, but he just has a bit more power in most people's opinion. And what we got was an absolute masterpiece from Bud Crawford, because he literally gave Spence beating. I can't say it any more than that. He beat him in every way possible. He was literally faster than him. He was outboxing him, and every time he hit him, it rocked Spence. In the second round, he knocked him down with a jab, on the little overhand jab. He slipped a punch. It came over the top, jabbed him. He went down, and literally just from there, it was literally just like a beating. He won every round. He won in every department, becoming the first person to become the first male boxer, because Carissa Shields has done it, and in women's boxing, the first two-way undisputed champion against someone who is a top 5 pound-for-pound boxer, in my personal opinion. I know I had a lot to say about Inoue, what he did early in the week on Tuesday, what put him as number one, but Crawford for me is now the best boxer, because to put himself in very, very rare air, as you said, he's now amongst the greatest welterweights ever. Every fight at welterweight, he's had a finish, and he's beaten top caliber guys, and he's beaten a legend in the making in Spence. And a lot of people are gonna give Spence shit because he kind of got washed, but he came against someone who was a generational talent, who had the best performance of his whole career. And Spence beats every other welterweight still, even though he probably was at the weight for too long. He's probably going to move up. But and moving next for Bud, it's crazy because he's really talking about fighting against Charlo at 154 pounds. He was the undisputed champion there, so he has a chance to maybe become a three-way undisputed champion, which is absolutely crazy to think about. So, just I was literally just like in awe, and how I already knew that obviously Bob was good and Crawford was great, but he really showed that he's really, really special, and it was just unbelievable to watch. Just unbelievable.
Okay, so is there now? I saw something about Spence doing a rematch clause. Is that going to happen? You think, or does that even need to happen? Because from everything you've told me, it doesn't need to happen.
I would say it needs to happen only because like this fight was going to happen. This fight was kind of in purgatory for just like a very, very long time. It's only when kind of like Spence kind of like told his team, I want to fight him now. Like I can't go on making all these like defenses against lesser tier caliber until I fight him. Like, you know, like I actually want to fight him. I've said it for years. Make it happen, because this fight only happened because obviously Crawford was obviously with Top Rank for a while, and he left them to become a free agent to kind of make things easier in order to make this fight happen. And Spence did his part. He told his team, pay him what he wants. I want to fight him. I actually want to go and make this fight happen. And I feel like when two guys go out of their way to kind of give the fans like what they want, at the very least, you know, you should at least give him a chance to obviously right that wrong. It probably will happen at 154 pounds, and Crawford even said I would actually give him that, you know, after what's happened between them, because to be fair, these two guys do respect each other, and they made it clear. So I would probably say a rematch first, and then who knows, if Spence could want to turn it around, we could get like a trilogy. But it's Crawford will wins again. He's probably going to look at becoming a freeweight undisputed champion at 154 pounds. But I can't lie, man. Boxing is in a really, really good place this year.
Exactly. That's what it sounds like. And I know this is not the same kind of boxing. It's not meant to be the same kind of boxing. We can't just not mention Paul fights Diaz this weekend. I'm going to come out and make a quick prediction for you. I don't think Diaz fights. I don't think he shows up. I think he's been extremely weird the entire buildup. I understand that you like real boxing, but it does have some level of intrigue. He's been extremely weird in the whole buildup. He walked off a set the other day. I'm giving it like a 40-60 chance he doesn't even show up. Like it's been weird to me.
I plead the fifth. I haven't watched anything about it.
That's fine. No, that's completely fine.
I'll just be real. I haven't really looked that much into it, but the fact that the fact that Nate's being like that, like based on what you're saying, is very telling.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you got to fight this Saturday, and you've done nothing to promote it. And he walked off the stage in a weird way with the Paul and Ariel interview. It's just been, I don't know. I don't think he shows up to the fight. I don't know. Let's move into something that is real. UFC 291. Banger of a night. Banger of a night. New baddest motherfucker on the planet. Shout out to Justin Gaethje. I believe we both picked Dustin. I would pick Dustin if they fought again, but Justin looks. This is the best Justin we've ever gotten. This is the Justin that could maybe be a champion. I understand BMF isn't really it's a title of like world's strongest man type thing, you know? Like I think this is the Justin that I do want to see him in a title fight now. After the way he put away Dustin, I think this is the best he's ever been. Give me a quick little recap before we actually get into the fights.
You know, I said last week this fight was going to be war, and the first round, when I showed it was very like back and forth, and I felt confident in my pick after the end of first round one, because I felt Poirier just about nicked it, and especially late on, he was starting to like really like land a little bit. But round two, Justin kind of, and this is something that we haven't really seen much. Justin was patient, and he kind of let Dustin kind of come onto him a little bit. And something about whenever people fight in Utah now, something about high kicks. Something about high kicks, and it was kind of. I know that obviously Leon obviously did it using his left, but Justin comes out. He literally goes forward a little bit after letting Justin kind of come on and give him like a little bit of looks and reads. He throws a little 2-punch combo, but obviously at the end of the right, he literally just hides. He literally hides the right high kick. Dustin catches it, but it goes wrap round and out. Like that lands on anyone, you're going out. You know, and perfectly timed, and especially from when you don't really see Justin throw high kicks like that, where he's more of a like leg kick heavy guy. The fact that he's pulled that out of what seems out of like nowhere, even though it was very telegraphed and very like drilled in, very, very impressive. And he did against Dustin. Like in the last few years, Dustin's only lost against Charles and Habib. So that shows what level Dustin Poirier is at. But I'm kind of like with you. Justin was very impressive. And it's clear, like, you know, he's not all action, he's not all like berserker as much. He kind of dials in a little bit and knows when to do it. And that kind of shows in his last fight against Rafael Steve how impressive that is, like to kind of like bring that form into this one as well. I just have a feeling that he may have to have one more fight because at the top we've obviously got Islam and you got Charles and you got Volk kind of like still lurking thereabouts considering what happens in October. But it's very
at 155 though right now. 155 is a waiting game, and it's unfortunate, but if Volk decides to fight at 155, Justin's going to get leapfrogged. So I think if anything, you go out and try to make a big money fight for the BMF title. And I know Justin's not really a talk guy, but if he could work Conor into a shoot and get Conor into the ring somehow, just beat the shit out of him. Just beat the shit out of Conor and get a big payday for it, and then get your title shot anyway. Like, to me, that's a great scenario for Justin Gaethje right now. I don't think Conor gets in the ring with him, but if he can make that work somehow and then still get your title shot without probably taking a ton of damage, because Conor's not on Justin's level right now, and it's not close.
And not even that, if he goes out and you put out a beat on Conor, that makes him an even bigger star. Exactly,
and you're making yourself even more money.
Exactly.
Let's get into the actual card. I mean, you know, this podcast really rested on the shoulders of Miranda Maverick to lead off the card, and without that third round submission, this podcast was more than likely over. And I just want everybody to acknowledge that she came back and she won, and now we can get into the rest of the card because that was what saved this podcast.
I can definitely concur when I say Doug is not lying when he said this podcast was on the shoulders of Miranda Maverick, because I'll tell you this now, if she lost, I will not hear the end of it. I would have to console him every day.
I don't know why. Here's the thing.
So with that, Miranda, I thank you. I
don't even know why. I watched her on some random card a couple years back, and I texted you. I was like, I like the way she fights, and I'm just sticking with her. So shout out to Miranda Maverick at the top of the card, getting it done. What else on the early prelims got your attention?
My guy, Kopylov, like I did point him out last week, and
yes, you did.
That was a crazy head kick, man. Like he literally snaps his head back. Like
that guy looks very dangerous going forward at 185. Do you think he's one more fight away from a top 15, or do you think he's ready now?
It depends on how active he is. If he wants to get one more in. If he wants to get one more in this year, I wouldn't be shocked if it's someone outside of the top 15. But if they give him that, considering that, you know, he kind of did it on a big pay-per-view card, I wouldn't be shocked if they did give him a chance to kind of like fight his way into the top 15. I probably would say next year is when he kind of gets the chance. If he gets one more win this year, next year is when he gets a chance to kind of like rise up the ranking.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wanted to shout out Gabriel Bonfim. This is the actual prelims, but dude, he looks good. I like the way he fights. Got that submission, the guillotine on Giles. I just really like the way he fights. I'm very impressed with how he got him in, or got the takedown and got him out of there in the first round. Let's just jump into the main card. We had, there's some really good fights on the prelims, really entertaining fights. But our guy Kevin Holland shows up and showed the fuck out, dude. His defense, his takedown defense, I know Chiesa has been away for 2 years, but you don't just forget how to wrestle and do, like, Chiesa's a good-ass wrestler, and he's very good, but he is susceptible to the Darce choke, and Kevin Holland did it. I mean, that was one of the most impressive showings he's had in his career, and he's had some really impressive showings. Like, you saw Chiesa couldn't stand with him. Kevin made that very clear, and then, just got it down, got the choke, and it was over with. What else is there to Kevin Holland? Because I want him to stay at welterweight. I understand he I think he thinks he can do 185, but dude, at welterweight you look really, really dangerous. So tell me what you think. Go ahead.
He needs to stay at 170. Don't get me wrong. I know that he's kind of joking that like he wants to obviously like eat more and not have to diet and stuff, but we've seen how good he is because he got to rank number 10 at 185 pounds. And he just came against guys who were bigger wrestlers who kind of had like a strength advantage over him. At 170, he's a lot longer and he's actually a lot bigger. And, facing against some of these like wrestlers, he's able to actually nullify them a bit more. And he's kind of shown that he has really worked on his takedown defense as well, because I believe he has a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So he's shown on the ground he's very competent. He just isn't good at the wrestling, but he's shown that he's worked in it. And because he's a lot stronger now, moving down, he can kind of nullify that a bit more. And again, Kiesa's good wrestling. Like he's someone who's normally like relentless. Like he literally keeps shooting until he gets you down. And Kevin showed that Chiesa had no business being with him on the feet. He threw the knee, and even though the knee didn't catch him fully, Chiesa literally went down on the level change, and Kevin saw that coming. It was like instant, and it was a wrap. Very, very. I was very impressive, and I'm happy for him as well, because for someone who's like a big fan of his, okay, if you take away what he's like outside the ring, like he's really good on the mic, he's a fan favorite, he does all these crazy things outside, he's like a real life Batman. He's actually talented. If you take all of that stuff away, you just look at him as an MMA fighter, he's really talented. And the fact that he's now ranked now, like he's going to be ranked now, because I think Chiesa was like,
I think he's going to be ranked 12th.
Yeah, 12, exactly.
11 or 12, I can't remember.
There are a lot of fun matchups for him. I know you mentioned if UFC was to sign the MVP, he could obviously go into there. There's a rematch with Jeff Neal eventually down the line. There's fights with Ian Gary going down there. He could fight Vicente Luque. He could fight Shavkat. Like I know. Obviously, Shavkat's like we have in high regard, but I'm just listening to people who could have very fun matchups with, and he can actually make a real run. He can make a real run at this.
I think that's why he should stay at 170. This is his weight class to make that run. And if it doesn't work out, go back to 185 and have fun fights, because people are going to pay to watch you fight either way. But at 170, try to make one legitimate run. I think this is a really good chance for that.
And he has a chance that if he kind of, let's say, if he was to crack the top 5, if he was to even have really big wins up there, considering who he is, he could become a real star. Like he could become like a really big name, because you can tell that Dana and the guys really like him a lot. Because recently, all his fights have been on pay-per-view main cards. Mm-hmm. So he kind of has a real chance to really make like a really big name for himself.
I mean, say he wins his next 2 fights, and Leon needs an opponent. You're telling me they wouldn't give him Holland at 5 or 6 in the rankings if Leon needs a guy? I promise you, Holland will throw his name in the hat and probably get that fight.
And that's a fun fight. I know we're shooting very high up here, but on paper, that fight is a very, very fun fight.
Because that will still sell tickets. I understand we don't think Kevin could beat Leon. That's perfectly fine. This is down the road. But if he gets another big win, 2 big more wins, and Leon needs a guy, that's your guy. And Holland gets his title shot. It's just a possibility. Obviously, we're big fans of Kevin Holland. We think the world of him. Let's move on before people, turn this into a Kevin Holland podcast. Bobby King Green beats up on Tony Ferguson. I put way too much into Tony Ferguson still having something left in the tank. I owe Bobby Green an apology. I don't know. I wasn't sold on the fact that Bobby Green was in a level above where I thought he was. I still thought that headbutt was directed at Gordon, but that's neither here nor there. He did get a good win. He got a nice arm triangle on Tony. Really beat up Tony. Anything you got to say? I mean, you don't like to call for guys to retire, but 6 in a row, unless he's on an 8-fight deal, I think it's got to be close to time. What do you think?
This really reminds me now really of what BJ Penn looked like as BJ Penn was like on his way out, when he just like the Tony Ferguson who was beating the guys of Kevin Lee when Kevin Lee was kind of like really smudging and up and coming, when he beat Anthony Pettis, when he beat RDA, when he beat up Barboza. That guy's gone. Like that Tony Ferguson that everyone knows and loves, who was on that 12-fight winning streak, who people thought that he was going to be Khabib's like rival and Khabib's potential kryptonite. That guy's not there anymore. Bobby Green's like is 36, but he has a lot more left in the tank. And Tony looks slow and old.
Very slow.
Very slow and old. And don't get me wrong as well. I know that Tony dropped him, and people are going to talk about the eye poke, but overall, Tony looks slow. And even on the third round, normally he goes for that Unanami roll, and that's like a staple of like of Tony. Everybody sees it coming because it was very slow.
Yeah.
Very, like, you can see. That's the thing about doing those rolls. If you can kind of like see it coming, it's easy to kind of like get on top and like kind of like shut that down. And a couple of years ago, Charles Oliveira, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu grapplers that we've seen, had Tony in an armbar stretched out. Yeah. Tony didn't tap. Bobby Green gets him in a top triangle hold and puts him to sleep. It's sad.
He laid there for a little while too after the fact. Yeah. I mean, it was bad. It was bad. Bobby Green did everything he needed to do. He looked fast. He looked crisp. His hands looked good. Yeah, I mean, if you want to say Tony got poked in the eye, yada yada, I don't think it mattered. Bobby Green was pretty dominant in rounds 2 and 3. Yeah, round 1, Tony put him down on his butt, but I think it was more of a flash knockdown than really any real damage. So if Tony Ferguson is done, hell of a career. That 12-fight win streak was nuts. The fact that he never got to fight Khabib for the title really sucks and kind of puts a damper a little bit on his career when you look back at it, but still a really, really fantastic career. But Bobby Green's on to bigger things now. Next fight on the card. The Black Beast returns to the octagon in dramatic fashion with the flying knee on DeLima. Holy shit, man. Good for Derek Lewis. More than likely, he was gone from the company if he didn't win this fight. He's still a free agent either way, but hell of a flying knee, hell of a celebration, hell of a promo. Good for Derek Lewis. What'd you think?
I feel like Derek Lewis just had one game plan. I'm fighting in Utah with high altitude. I am a big guy. Yeah. My cardio isn't that good anyway. I'm just gonna go out flying and throw something and just hope it lands and hope it puts him away. And it did. It worked. He literally come out, flying switch knee, and DeLima's probably thinking, what the fuck is coming at me right now? Why is this guy running at me in the first round? He gets caught and he just bombs on him. He literally just he literally throws bombs on him, and Dilima is literally just bamboozled and doesn't know what to do, and it was literally just like a wrap from there. Good for him. You know, Derek Lewis is always like a fan favorite, and it's very clear: do not have him fight in the state of Texas. Whenever he fights inside his home state, he doesn't really do that well. You know, also kind of just, and I feel you kind of touched upon it as well. You know, if Derek Lewis did lose, he probably would have been out. Whereas now, because of what happened with Wonderboy and Pereira, his fight gets moved up towards the main card. He gets the viral moment. He gets the, you know, the celebration. He takes off the shorts. He runs around. He takes his gloves off. He throws it off. He has that hilarious interview with Joe Rogan talking about gonna boss like his wife's guts up. All of that. It kind of puts him in a good position now because he can say, "Look, I've got this good moment. The fans still like me. I can still be like a draw of some sort." And because he's fought out like his contract, and he's been a good servant of the UFC, they're probably going to look after him. And even if they don't, if he does kind of, you know, exploit the free market,
Francis.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, their first fight was fucking horrible, and it was, but the PFL need a name for Francis to fight, and to fight against someone who has a win over him on paper, that does kind of sell itself. So it kind of puts Derek in a really good position to kind of potentially get that one final payday before he does bow out.
I think PFL should make that offer very soon.
Yeah.
Because if he's, you know, whenever his contract's actually up, make that call, because that would be a big first fight for Francis on PFL pay-per-view. And Derek Lewis, you know, he's got a name, he's got cachet, so, and they don't have anybody close to Derek Lewis even around that roster. So that's probably your best bet right now. Congrats to the Black Beast. Hell of a performance. All right, let's get into the highly debated UFC light heavyweight #1 contendership fight. Jan versus Alex. For me, I thought Jan won round 1. I saw people give him a 10-8. I thought it was a 10-9, because while he was dominant in the round, I don't ever think Alex was in trouble to the point where it could have been stopped or anything like that. And I thought he defended the arms and the chokes very well while being on the ground. Round 2 was very clearly for Alex, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And in round 3, Alex outstruck him. Jan got a very ticky-tacky takedown and did nothing with it. He didn't throw punches. He didn't do anything. He didn't advance position. Alex outstruck him, and I thought he defended the takedowns overall very well for a guy who doesn't really do that. How did you see it go down?
I saw it similar to you. First thing I will say, out of all the fights on the main card, maybe because all the other fights were like finishes, this is the fight where you clearly saw that the high altitude affected both guys.
Jan really badly. He was
Jan looked exhausted after round 2.
That very well could have cost him the fight also. Like that looked bad.
And even with that as well, Alex wasn't as explosive and as sharp as we've seen him. Round 1, I gave it to Jan as well. Jan obviously he got the takedown. He after all this talk about I want to test like my punch power. Nah, like no. I already know I have an advantage in this area. I'm gonna go and use it. You know, he gets the takedown. He goes for a lot of submissions. Alex does held off well. Yeah. It was a decisive round, but it wasn't a complete dominant round for me to get 10. Like for like a 10-8, someone has to like really play it on you, and you do nothing. There is like no like resistance kind of thing. Round 2 is Alex's round. You know, leg kicks, like combination, doing really well. It showed that like that's like his round. In round 3, it was kind of more of the same for me, even though Jan did have his moments back and forth at times. he gets that last minute takedown, but this is something that I always have this conversation with basic people. You are scored for damage. Getting a takedown and not doing anything with it, you should not be scored points for it. Yeah. If you're going to take someone down and you keep them there and you're not advancing position and you're not trying to get damage off, that doesn't do anything, because a takedown is only a change of position. Takedown that doesn't cause damage unless you're like Jordan Levitt when you pick someone up and he slams them and you knock them out, but that's obviously like a rarity. So this fight wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be, but I feel like that's because of the high altitude. But Alex just did enough to get by, and this sets up a very fun fight with him and Yurigacha. Like that fight is going to be fireworks. That fight is going to be fireworks because both guys are going to come forward and one person is probably going to go down.
And Yuri's such a warrior. I don't think he's going to try to take him down either. I think he's going to stand with him and try to stand with him for 5 rounds if he can. If either guy can hold up, because those two punching each other could be done very quickly. But yeah, so light heavyweight, very big opportunity for them. I hope we get that before the end of the year, because that would be epic.
Probably will say December. Probably say the last pay-per-view card of the year.
And we'll get into that a lot more. But I mean, you look at a guy who's got 8 fights in the UFC now. Is it 7 or 8? I have to look again.
First fight at MSG on the card of the easy fight. Bruno Silva, Strickland, easy twice. So he's on 6. So he's on.
I think we're missing one, because let me look real quick. I feel like we're missing one.
Yeah, so we had one guy before. He had one guy before Bruno Silva, and then.
Okay, yeah, you're right. No, it's 6. It's 6.
Yeah, 6.
So his 7th fight will be for his 2nd title.
Crazy.
Like, we'll get into it later. There's more to it, but obviously, I just think Jan. I don't know where Jan goes from here. Do you have any idea on what Jan does next?
I mean, he's 40. I do understand he's quite pissed off. Like, I saw his tweet saying that he got robbed. Not every close fight isn't a robbery. I feel like people need to add a bit more context to that. But again, if I'm someone who kind of like goes in training camp, I train my ass off, I do everything I can, and I feel that I won in a close fight, I would probably feel a little bit pissed off as well. So I totally get that. For Jan, he's probably going to fight. He's probably going to have to fight someone up and coming. They're probably going to have to try to get someone to have a chance to beat him to kind of become like a new contender. Whoever it is, I'm not sure.
Question for you. This isn't necessarily young and up and coming as much, but what about I'm trying to think. Have they fought or not?
You think about Krylov?
Would you think him and Rakic would rematch?
Maybe. Because
Rakic doesn't have anybody right now.
Maybe.
And I know he KO'd Rakic before, or TKO'd him before.
Yeah.
What was that, last year?
Yeah, I think it was last year, because he basically did like the injury on his knee. Remember, went back to his knee.
So I mean,
I can see that
rematch there.
I can see that happening. He could fight against Krylov, give Krylov a chance to kind of like really break through and have that on. Yeah, there's other guys, but I can't think of anyone around that top 10 off the top of my head right now.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the main event. The baddest motherfucker on the planet, Justin Gaethje. We touched on it a little bit. I mean, Dustin won the first round. Very competitive round, in my opinion. And he got hit with a really, really nice, unexpected head kick. Who's a better matchup for Justin Gaethje, Islam or Charles?
Charles.
Would you want to see Volk and Gaethje fight? for the BMF, since neither one's doing anything at the moment.
That doesn't do anything for Volk, though.
No, but Volk's not the kind of guy who says no.
He wouldn't say no. I feel like if he
I'm talking about just strictly X's and O's. I don't think it advances Volk's future at all. But would you like to see them fight and maybe fight for the BMF, and then the winner fights the winner of Charles and Islam?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind that at all. You know,
Yeah.
that fight's going to be all action, but I just don't see that happening. If that makes sense. I feel like Volk's next fight for the belt, as long as Volk's champion at 145, his next fight is going to be for the belt at 155. That's kind of like my way of thinking.
I just didn't know if maybe that's a big money fight either way.
It is.
And if the thing with Conor obviously falls through, Volk and Justin are waiting, so in my mind it's a fun fight to get into the actual cage.
Oh yeah, definitely, it'll be a fun fight.
In terms of getting a title shot, or losing a title shot potentially by losing the fight, you are risking a lot by fighting somebody as good as Volk or fighting somebody as good as Justin at the moment.
I think it's going to be very hard to see what happens next until we see what happens in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Personally.
Okay, what's next for Dustin Poirier
now?
That's my guy, but he's not in a great spot at the moment.
He has two options. I know he said that he wants to have like fun fights and fights that like interest him. He has two choices. He can either kind of forget about going for the belt and just go for fun fights, or he has to fight one of these up and comers at this point because as fun as seeing Justin and Dustin being around there at a time, them two were clearly shown that obviously they're not champion material in a way, because we've seen them have two title fights and they both lost. Gaethje had to go and fight an up-and-coming Rafael Fiziev that a lot of people picked him to lose, and me included, and Justin proved me wrong. And now obviously putting back-to-back wins, back-to-back impressive wins. He's putting back in a chance to obviously go for a third title shot, which is rare in itself. If Dustin still has aspirations of obviously being a champion one day, he's gonna have to fight against one of these up and coming guys. It could be it could be like an Arman even. It could be like Arman gets his chance against someone like Dustin.
That would be big for him. Obviously, I don't know if Dustin takes that, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but if he's not interested in finding any of these up and coming guys, he may just he could move up to 170 and fight someone like Colby. I know them two have that like bad blood. He may just go for those big money fights against these high profile guys, whereas not necessarily being in the title mix.
So I thought, obviously, I don't think this is a big money fight like he wants, but I think you take the Benny DeRouche fight and you try to get yourself right back into contention right away.
Agreed.
So that would be what I would do as Dustin, but obviously he's been through a lot of wars. He's taken a lot of damage. Benny's a tough night out no matter what. But overall, out of 10, what do you give UFC 291?
I give it an 8.5. 8.5/9 means more towards an 8.5. It was really good. Really, like, especially the main card, like kind of like the main card that delivered. If apart from one fight, it was all finishes, all early finishes as well, and very impressive ones.
I will give Miranda Maverick a 10, and I will give the card. I'd give the card an 8.5. 8.5, right in that range. I thought it was really good night of fights. AJ, that takes us into this coming weekend. We got to do it all over again. UFC Fight Night Nashville, headlined by our guy Corey Sandhagen versus another guy we really enjoy in Rob Font.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody on the undercard catch your eyes besides our guy Billy Q? I always like watching Billy fight.
This has a really good undercard. Like, I was looking at it again like the other day, and really good undercard. So you've got Jake Hadley, who is a UK flyweight. He's fighting against Cody Durden. It's quite funny because you got Jake Halley and Mo Makiev. They don't really like each other. There's this like rivalry going on over here, and Jake Halley's last fight was against Malcolm Gordon, who kind of gave Mo his toughest fight, arguably in the UFC so far. And Halley literally knocked him out in the first round. Mm-hmm. And now he's fighting against Cody Durden, who was Mo Makiev's debut fighter when he stopped him in the first round. So he can go out there and kind of like maybe one up Mo and just beat him up in a more decisive fashion. So obviously that fight is really interesting to me. It's really fun. As well as on the prelims, obviously you got Billy Q, you got Sean Woodson fighting, who I don't know how he makes 145 pounds when you're 6'2", just big guy. You got OD, you got OD Osborne. He has one of the funniest podcasts, Wagwan podcast. He's really cool. Jeremiah Wells is fighting against one of my Guyanese brethren, Carlson Harris. Carlson Harris is probably most known for getting flatlined by Chavcap. And but for me is the fight on the main. Is the feature prelim. You got Carla Phillips. Carla Phillips is good. He's 28 years old. He has a win over Song Yudon, who we both rate very, very highly. Mm-hmm. And you know, Kyle is someone who could really make noise in this very stacked 135-pound division. So all in all, like on this undercard, it is a very, very good undercard, a very, very stacked one. So I'll say most of the fights are going to be pretty much very competitive and
well said. There is a lot. I do look forward to seeing Jeremiah Wells get back in there. I do like watching him fight. Just a lot of good fights on this one. Let's start it off. We've got in the lightweight division, we've got Klein versus Ignacio Bahamondes. Is that how you say that?
Bahamondes. The Chilean.
Bahamondes at 6'3" at 155 is pretty impressive. But let's see how you got that one shaken out.
Klein's tough. Klein fought Jai Herbert to a draw in London in March, and he's only still 28. Bahamondes is 25. Bahamondes just needs to keep it long. Yeah, literally just keep it long. Because as talented as Bahamondes is, and he has those two highlight reel moments when he fought on the contender series when he had like that like Anderson Silva like front kick when he just put the guy out. Like he made the guy look like one of those like chalk like cut outs.
Yeah,
literally sprayed out. He beat Roosevelt Roberts with that spinning kick, just laid him out. So very clear. If you let Bahamondes kick you, he's probably going to put you out. But he's very hittable. There are times when people are able to kind of like get in close and inside, he can be hurt. So Klein just needs to kind of make it rough on him and kind of like get really up in his face and in his chest and fight him on the inside. But I have a feeling that Bahamondes is probably gonna catch him with something. So I'm gonna say 1-2.
All right. I'm going to side with you on this one. I got Ignacio getting a win. TKO, late round 1, early round 2, if it makes it that far. Next fight on here, Tanner Bozeman gets back in there, the Canadian, versus Alexa Camure.
Camure.
Yeah, the American side of me struggles with some of these names. I like the way Tanner Bozeman fights. He's not great, but I just enjoy watching the guy fight. He's definitely struggled recently. If he loses this one, he might be done. I mean, he's 1-4 in his last 5. I mean, how do you see this one getting out?
Yeah, this fight just seems like a last chance for both guys. Both guys are in bad form.
Loser leaves town match.
Yeah, literally. I worry for Tanner only because he moved down in weight in his last fight against Kutalaba, and Kutalaba kind of just like clubbed him.
Yeah.
Just really beat him up. And, you know, whenever people move down in weight, it can either go one or two ways. It could be the best thing for you, or it could be just, you know, when you're cutting like more weight, it kind of makes you more susceptible to getting hurt. And Kamar, so ever since Kamar won on the Dana White Contender Series, he hasn't looked great yet. He's lost every fight since then. But kind of like if you look at his career, like pre that, he was literally just like a wrecking machine. He was just getting like a lot of finishes, and I've got a bad feeling that, you know, Tanner is obviously older and he's on the wrong side of 30, and I think Kamar's 28, 29. I'm going to go for the younger guy.
Makes sense. I'm gonna give Tanner one more chance. My Canadian brother to the north, giving him one more shot. But like I said, loser leaves town match. I'll take Tanner.
Well, I will say this fight will be fun because both guys probably know their jobs are on the line. Both of them are probably going to go for it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. There's literally nothing to lose in this one. You got to go for it. Diego Lopez versus Gavin Tucker at featherweight. Diego Lopez came out on the wrong side of a loss to Ilave Mobzar. How do you feel about Diego Lopez? Because I thought he looked pretty good in that loss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for him that he has now got his chance. He plays against a vet, and a vet who hasn't been in the best of form. I think he's coming off one or two losses.
He lost to Dan Ige last fight.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago when he got flatlined in like 22 seconds. It was literally like one shot, just put him out. You would also imagine after a 2-year layoff that his team is probably like healed up and gotten refreshed. If Lopez looks like how he did in the first round against Mosvar, he should win. Like he should just be too much for him. But again, is that a case of, you know, finally get someone late notice when someone doesn't know much about you, and you kind of just go, I'm going to throw caution to the wind?
Right.
Did that kind of catch him off guard? Whereas now you've got someone who's been training in camp, fighting for you. He's probably been watching tape of you fighting.
Yeah.
When they have a bit more idea of you, does that kind of change things? But
that's a great point.
But I'm gonna be optimistic in the fact that because he looked really good for a round against someone who's probably going to be a future title contender at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And he's I think he's 28. His opponent is 37.
Yep.
I'm gonna lean on obviously Lopez, you know, getting a win and kind of showing that, you know, his fight wasn't a flash in the pan in a loss. I think we belong here. So I'm going to have him winning. I'm probably going to go for a unanimous decision.
Okay, you're going decision. I'm going to go submission for Lopez. Maybe round 2. Obviously, the rounds are a lot tougher, but I'm going submission for Lopez. Next fight, Dustin Jacoby versus Kennedy
Nzechukwu.
There you go. 2 good-sized light heavyweights. How do you see this one going down?
Time is now for Kennedy. He's very, very talented. He's shown it. You know, he's winning against Carlos Ulberg a couple of years ago. Has aged very, very well, considering how good Carlos Ulberg looks now. Justin Jacoby he's a very good kickboxer. He has crazy experience in that realm. He fought in Glory like a very, very long time ago, and he was very good there. He's obviously older now. He isn't. Yeah. He isn't the same guy which he was, but he's still very experienced in that regard. Kennedy has sneaky good grappling, and because he's very long, has long arms. He is really good at chokes. So as good as Kennedy is on the feet, I would imagine him to kind of like mix it in and make it a MMA fight rather than a kickboxing fight. So I'd imagine him to kind of, you know, push forward, land strikes to kind of set him hot for eventually getting him down and obviously grabbing the sub. That being said, if Kennedy's more than capable of obviously rocking him at Jacoby's age and putting him away, but I would say for him to play it safe and make a win. And I think Justin Jacoby's ranked 15th, and at this point now, considering that he had a last minute main event against Kujalaba, I think last year, Kennedy has a chance to be like, okay, I'm one of these new guys coming up now. I can make a run and really crack into this light heavyweight division, you know, because as good as it is at the top, we've obviously got Jamal Hill. When it comes up, we've got Yuri, we've got Ankalaev, we've got Alex Pereira. A lot of guys rest in the top 10 have kind of been there for a while. It's time for these guys like Kennedy, and Carlos Over to kind of like break through and give this division, you know, like some new blood. So I'm going to go for Kennedy to get a second round submission.
Okay, well, I'm going to piggyback off of that. I got Kennedy winning also. Jacoby, like you said, good kickboxing. I think Kennedy, it's a great opportunity to get ranked here, steal a win, get your name into that list, and then start working your way up. That reach advantage is really impressive. That 3-inch reach compared to, you know. So I think that helps with getting, maybe if he can get a submission, get him out of there, submission of the night. I think it's all right there for him. Looking ahead to the co-main event, Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana's 10-0 still. Jessica Andrade, she's lost back-to-back fights. What do you think? Can she get back in the win column against Suarez?
I mean, a couple of years ago, Tatiana Suarez was seen as the next big thing, and for good reason. You know, if you kind of look on her record, she's beaten Carla Esparza and Alexa Grasso in back-to-back fights, yes. And both of those people have gone on to become champions. Suarez skill set, she is a incredibly gifted grappler, like insanely gifted grappler. And we saw in Andrade's last fight against Erin Blanchfield kind of ragdolled her a little bit. And even that fight was a late notice fight. And Andrade is tough as they come. She's one of the most powerful, hardest hitting women which we've seen in MMA. Yeah. But after kind of getting ragdolled that badly against Erin Blanchfield, to face against someone who has a similar skill set, yeah, it's potentially going to be a rough night. And I'm very high on Suarez. And considering Suarez also had a 3.5 year layoff, she's probably want to go out there and make it easy and show I've beaten my third former world basic champion. Yep. I'm really that good. Put me amongst the elites as soon as possible, because I want to make up for lost time. I want to show that I'm basically going to be the champ. So and I feel that's going to be her mindset, especially in a co-main event on a fight night that kind of has a crowd as well. She's really going to want to really go out there and put on a show. So I'm probably going to say, as harsh as it sounds for Andrade, I got Suarez winning in the first round.
Don't forget, Jessica got knocked out by Jan.
Slept.
Yeah. Slept. I don't know. If Suarez can get in those positions, I think it's going to go her way all night. And if Jessica can keep it on the feet, I think she's got a good shot. I'm going to lean Tatiana Suarez also. Get her out of there maybe with an armbar or something like that. And then, like you said, women's strawweight, she could very well be one of the next challengers for the title. She's got a really strong resume if she gets Jessica on that list. So I'll go Suarez also by armbar.
Nice.
All right, time for the main event. our guy Corey Sandhagen, the most boring man on the microphone in the planet, versus Rob Font. I gotta come out and say it, man. I don't see how Rob Font can beat Corey. Rob Font doesn't possess a good enough ground game, in my opinion, to beat Corey. And there's not many people in the UFC who are better on the feet than Corey is, especially at his weight. Like, there's just not, it's I know it's a catch weight, but like, there's not many people who have the hands like Corey does. So tell me, what is your vision of seeing how Rob could win this fight?
His jab. If he's able to obviously get inside on Corey and establish like his jab, because as we know, he has one of the best jabs in the UFC, and he does have power. Like, he showed in his last fight against Adrian Yanez. If Rob Font is able to land, he can hurt you. He can hurt you, and anything can happen, because I'd imagine this fight is going to play out on the feet. For the most part, Rob Font does have a brown belt in jiu-jitsu as well. I think he has 1 or 2 subs on his record, so he has that in his locker. Maybe not at a level where people think it's like the high standard, but he does have it there. Yeah. But again, I do agree with you. This fight's going to play out on the feet. As much as a fan I am of Corey, I'm going to say this, taking away me, the fan, and just looking at him just as 2 fights facing against each other. Corey is in incredible form right now. His last 2 fights, he put an absolute clinic against Chito Vera, and took young and after a competitive first round against Song Yadong, after when Corey caused the cut, cut with that precise elbow, he kind of took Song to score.
Oh yeah,
and that's against 2 high-level guys in this incredible division, which I think is still the best division in the whole sport right now. Corey is too cerebral. His movement and his range, because he's 5'11", he's gonna have a crazy reach advantage. He's probably gonna be surgical and kind of just pick Rob Font apart, and I imagine he'll do enough to kind of just slip the jab and get his counters on and just pick him apart. I'm gonna say Corey probably gets a 5 round. He probably puts on another 5 round a potential 5 round masterclass, and kind of shows that, I know that originally he was meant to fight Umar, and Umar's ranked 10th, but I think he goes out and shows, I am one of the best bantamweights on the planet. I should be in line I should be up next. I should be, after what happens between Aldo and Sean, I should be the one next to kind of go out and get that title shot, or he goes out and fights Murad. That'd be fun. It's really that simple. But yeah, our man Sandman, I've got him going out there and putting on another incredible performance.
Murad versus Corey for the vacant title, because Al just said he's moving up if he wins.
I can see that happening. I can see it.
Like you said, Corey's one of the best snipers in the UFC. I mean, he's just so on point with his striking. And Rob Font's a really good fighter, but I don't think he lives in the same realm as Corey Sandhagen. So yeah, I think Corey Sandhagen gets him out by TKO in round 3.
Okay.
I expect Corey to put on a master class. AJ, that's it for UFC Fight Night Nashville. What else you got for us before we get out of here?
We have to talk about this one. Your guy's got a fight. Your guy Johnny Walker's fighting against. He's fighting against the boogeyman, Ankalaev.
Oh my God! Where's Ankalaev from?
I think he's from Dagestan as well. I think
there were missing persons pictures on milk cartons in Dagestan looking for Ankalaev. That guy was literally missing for damn near a year, if not longer.
Not half a year, because they last fought in December.
I didn't hear from him before then. So it's a really good fight. It really, really is a good fight. I don't know how, like, if Ankalaev shows up and is Ankalaev, I don't know if Johnny Walker could beat him. It's going to take something dynamic. Like you said, Ankalaev, when he's on, is the boogeyman. He is a very frightening guy to fight.
He's still, for me, the best light heavyweight in the division.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
If we go.
You want to talk about screwing somebody? Jan screwed Ankalaev into that draw, is what happened. That was not a draw.
Yeah.
It's a good fight. It's a really good fight. Hopefully Ankalaev shows up on Fight Night. Hopefully he's resurfaced, but if he goes missing again, I wouldn't be surprised. Some of these guys just don't handle their career in a way that I understand, and it bothers me. And he's one of those guys. So I hope Johnny Walker wins, which is weird for me to say. Which is weird to me.
That's basically like you saying you want Sean Strickland to win a fight. That's basically the same thing.
At least we know they're going to show up, and at least we know they care about their career because they do what it takes to get these fights, and they're relevant when they're not fighting. Okay. So, what else you got? Anything else?
No. If anyone still cares about the Lost Watch, I'm in season 4, which is one of the best seasons.
Yeah.
So that's really good. That's pretty much it for me. Oh, last one. I'll probably go through it a bit more nearer the time. There's a fight in September in the world of boxing. All I'm going to say is now, check the name Jontel Nakatani. Just watch him on YouTube and thank me later. Thank me later. If people have become fans of Nue recently, watch him. He's 24 years of age. He's younger. He fights. I think he fights at light flyweight or flyweight. Watch him. Just watch him and let you just thank me later. Incredible talent. And that's it for me.
All right, guys. Well, that is all from us at HOA MMA. We will be back next week to break down Nashville for you. And obviously, we'll keep it rolling. See you guys next week. Thanks again.
Peace out.